Days ago, during our midweek service, I promised you that I was going to bring to your attention the subject on the eternity of God that God has put in all of his creation. And if we can talk about that today, and let's see if I can be able to help some of you. But I would want this again to be as interactive as it was on Thursday. So whilst I'm teaching, you have a right, you have my permission to raise your hand and you ask whilst I'm teaching. Okay? Whilst I'm talking to you, talk to me. Anything that you want to understand, I'm here. Use me. Okay, bring the pulpit over here. There is something so critical about the presence of God in us, which is greater and bigger than just the presence of God, but we are that presence of God. We are that presence. I'm happy to see you. Thank you for coming. The bishop. The bishop. Thank you so much. Thank you, man of God. Thank you. There is something so profound about the presence of God when it is given. When God gives his presence to you, it's bigger than any gift. It's bigger than any present that you can ever be given. The presence. When God gives his presence, he has given himself because he is that presence. So it is God that you have. And remember, I said to Abraham, he said, I've become your great, exceeding great reward. You now have God as a reward. I've rewarded you by me, and I've become your payment.
Genesis 15 verse
Your
1.
wage. No, we don't want to go there. Let's not go there. I want to talk about eternity. Eternity, how God made everything beautiful. So as we are going, please don't get overwhelmed by what I'm saying and then you forget to ask me questions. Okay? So keep reminding me that you are here by asking me questions. So let me start the conversation, and as we go, if I say something that you would want me to repeat or clarify, right at that moment you say, you are moving on, you are moving too fast. You would tell me to slow down, then I can explain some few things. God, this is in Ecclesiastes. Chapter what?
Chapter 3.
Verse number?
Verse 11.
Verse 11. So let's read it from the King James Version first. Then we'll go to other different translations. Because it's not every time that the King James got it right. It's not every time. He is good in most instances, but here he lost it. So let's see how he got it wrong, and then we'll go to other different versions.
Verse 11. He hath made everything beautiful in his time.
He, that's in reference to God, has made, and again that's in reference to the maker, and everything good. Read it again.
He hath made everything beautiful in his time.
In his time.
Also, he hath set the world in their heart.
He also set the world in their hearts, so that what?
So that no man can find out the work that God maketh
From the beginning?
from the beginning
to the
end.
Okay, that's the King James Version. Now you'll see the difference. Go to any of the translations that you can find.
AFV. He has made everything beautiful in its time.
He has made everything beautiful in its time and not in his time. He, God, has made everything beautiful in its time. And he has
also set eternity in their heart.
In their hearts. He has also set eternity in their heart. So that what?
So that no man can find out the work that God makes from the beginning to the end.
There is a work that God has done from the beginning to the end that needs to be sought out, a discovery, a finding out of the work that God has done from the beginning to the end. And in order for men to find out that, there is a need for a certain quality that you don't only need to have, but you need to be that quality. Finding out the workings of God, understanding not only what God is doing, but what God has done from the beginning to the end. The discovery of that. Now the scripture is saying, so that men cannot see, perceive, understand what God has done from the beginning to the end. So, let's slowly look at it again. Now read it again slowly. Be seated, please.
He has
I know you're looking good, but you can see. He's what?
He has made everything beautiful in its time.
So let's look at that. Who is the maker of everything? God. God has made everything so beautiful. Word for word. God, the maker, made not some, everything. He made it so beautiful, but in its time. Yet it's not everything that seemed to be beautiful, even in your life. There seems to be a contradiction. If he is the maker of everything, and then everything that he made was made beautiful in their time, how come certain things, they don't seem to be that beautiful? Is he still the maker of some of the things that we see today? So before I go any further, let me try and bring in a scripture that you have always been quoting. everything works together for good. There is an everything again. And there is a working together for good. And in this passage of scripture, there is everything that God made, and there is the goodness, and also there is the workings of God from the beginning to the end.
And we know that all things work together for good.
How many things?
All
things work together for good. All things work together. So there is everything working together for good. In this scripture that we read,
He has made everything beautiful.
there is everything, there is beauty
in its
in
time.
its time. And at the end of that passage, we hear of the workings again of God from the beginning to the end. So let's try to reconcile the two. Listen, when the scripture says everything works together for good, you and I know there are things that have happened in the present, in the past, to you that are not good. We are not just talking about something that you can remember. I'm trying to make a reference to something that you know is happening in your life now that is not good. It is so terrible that if you come across a scripture like that, it's like a mockery. It's like the Bible lacks a certain understanding of what is happening to you. How can everything work out for good? So if you try to look at situations differently, independent of each other, you look at a situation, you can say, how can I have a situation? I'm sick. What's good about this? I've lost a loved one. And what's good about that? I've lost a job. I've lost my money. I've lost an opportunity. I've lost a connection. And what's good about that? If the word everything really means everything. So we have to believe God's word. And then we look again at our situation and we investigate what is it that God understands to be good that we misunderstand as bad. It's a son that I have lost. It's a daughter that I have lost. And the Bible tells me that everything, including that, everything. Okay, this is where we have a problem. The Bible is not saying that everything is good. That passage of scripture is saying everything works together for good. It is the goodness that when everything has worked together, that will come out. When everything, there is a working together of everything. When everything has worked together, what comes out is goodness. So it might not be good when you isolate situations in your life. You pull out a scenario, a situation that is happening to you, which is independent from everything. So there is no longer a working together of everything. It's one area which becomes so terrible until that area is joined with another area and another area. And there is a working together of what was not good then goodness is produced. So you must understand how God works. The working together of everything so that good can be produced. So when you look at situations independent from each other, you would say, this is not good, this is bad.
Man of God, if I can just take you a little bit backwards,
Yeah.
I really need a bit of more explanation on. Are you saying we can't pick one thing in isolation?
You can, but it will be bad.
It won't be part of the everything.
It won't be, there is no working together. The Bible is saying all things work, all things, including the bad, but there is a working together. Okay, so what you see as bad is an isolated case where you just look at what has happened and you are being told that you have just, the doctors are coming, they are telling you that you're very sorry, we couldn't make it, your husband is gone, he's dead. That's bad news. When you look at that situation in isolation, that's bad news. But you are not aware of the kind of life that your children were likely going to live had you died yourself as the mother and your husband remains. You don't have that picture. You are not aware of the disease that he was going to bring a year from now. So if he's to be taken away before that, because you are not aware of what God has actually averted. So you're looking at one scenario where you have lost a what? A husband, and you cry over that because you are not aware of other potential happenings that were likely going to occur. You know that you are crying, but are you aware if your children were to be asked, not verbally, are they safer in whose hands? The moment you begin to bring in other areas, so that they work together, what you realize there is goodness. It's all things work. There is a working together of things. So next time you hear of something terrible that is happening, before you are shocked to the core, try and investigate what else is working with that news. What else? There is a working together of all things so that goodness can be brought out. So that's what we're not aware of. That's exactly what is being said again in that first chapter that we read, that people are not aware of the workings of God from the beginning to the end. So from the beginning of the process to the end of the process, people cry because they are not aware of what is being worked out, the working together of everything, the working together of everything for good. So we must learn to be patient when you have a situation that you are aware of. There are several other situations surrounding that one situation, and those other situations you are not even aware of them. Yet they are working together to bring out one result that you cannot see today. So being patient and allowing that one bad situation to work together with other situations until goodness comes out. Am I clear on that? All right. So we go back now to the first chapter. So let's move slowly.
He has made everything beautiful in its time.
He has made everything beautiful in its time. King James says in his time. But here it is in its time. In its time. What is the it? The everything that God has made, even if that thing is not a being, if it's an it, as long as it was God who made it. God, he made that thing beautiful. Not in his time as God, but in its time. So what it means is, when God made something that you think is ugly, there was a certain set time put in it where the beauty of the it would manifest. In its time. So whenever you get to a thing and you see that this thing is ugly, how come he made everything beautiful? But I'm coming across this thing today which is not that beautiful. Now the problem is, you have come to the thing in your time. You might think that the business that you are running is not a good business because of your time. And it is within your time that you are misunderstanding the time of the business. You might think that you don't have a best wife. She's not good in your time. Your husband is not good in your time. The goodness of a thing was put in the thing by God, and it is programmed according to the time of the, not the time that you find the thing. There is your time and there is the time, its time. There is a time given to creation where, when you are to arrive at the time of the thing, what you will see is the beauty of it. The beauty of it. So we are coming back again. We are looking at everything that you thought was bad, was ugly. Do you have an understanding of its time, where the thing gets to its time of maturity? There is a time when a tree is in a seed form. And when you arrive at that time, what you experience is not a blossom. There is no flower. So if somebody had invited you to say, come and see the blossom of a flower, and all you see is a seed, you will wonder. Even if you were to buy that seed as a present for your wife on Valentine's Day, and you give it to her as a surprise, and she opens up and she sees a seed, you have given it to her in your own time. And what you have given to her is a thing that God has made beautiful. But the beauty of the seed will have to manifest in its, not in your time. Not in your time. The beauty, the flower is hidden within the seed. But you can't see it today because you have arrived today. You have to be patient with everything that God has made, and be willing to wait until it is the time, not your time, the time of what he has made. And then you will see the beauty. And all that, God did it from the beginning to the end of the lifespan of the tree. He will not come after having sown a seed, and then he comes, and then he waters, and then he comes, and then he hopes the seed to germinate, and then he comes back. And then, no. Everything was done, and it was put within the seed. So when time comes, it is coming to reveal the beauty that was concealed. So you are right now, some of you are in that form of a seed. There is no beauty. Even with Jesus, there was a time when there was no beauty. It was given prophetically. Looking at him, there was nothing to admire. There wasn't any beauty on him. Why? Because his time for his glorification had not yet come. So there's a time that you meet Jesus and there is nothing that you can say, wow. And then you come after he is ascended. And he has been given glory. He's blossoming. So his beauty also is timely. He has made everything beautiful in its time. So let me explain that. Be seated, please. Be seated. Be seated. So you realize a few months from now, when you look back into what you think is the past, and you look at what has been happening to you and what will be happening to you then you will understand, had it not been for this that is happening to you. At this point, we can never agree that things are working out for good. We cannot agree, and I'm not expecting an amen from you. We cannot, because everything is terrible. Because every time that you are arriving, you are so concerned about your time. And every time you get to the thing, you expect to witness and experience the goodness of the thing. Yet the beauty of the thing was given to the thing so that it would manifest according to the time of the thing. The thing. So the question is, what you are doing today, which is proving to not be working, check your time, check the time of the thing. Then you will notice that what was bad yesterday is good today. What is bad today is good tomorrow. Are you following? So now let me show you this part before we go. And I know some of you are having questions. I will entertain them very now. But let me just, very soon, I will entertain them. But let me just clarify something here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this point. Look at this point. He has made everything beautiful in his time. Now we are getting to a place where it becomes so critical, and I would want you to really pay attention on this one. Pay attention to this. Now,
he has also set eternity in their heart.
Can I explain a bit on the setting of eternity in their heart? If you're not careful, you would think that the setting of eternity is only restricted to the heart of a man. Because then soon after that, he starts to talk about man's inability to understand the workings of God from the beginning to the end. Now, read it again. I want people to hear this. There is a setting of eternity in their heart. In their heart. And that's in reference to everything.
He has made everything beautiful in its time.
Please take note of that. He made everything beautiful. Everything was made beautiful by the Maker in its time. So there is time for everything to manifest its beauty. Are we together? then also
He has also set eternity in their heart.
in their heart. Before you think that's the heart of a man, because of the way that you were trained, you were raised to think that way, that it's only you that has a heart. But this is in reference to everything that God has made. And there is a place in everything that God created. And that place in everything is capable of containing eternity. Please, I want you to follow this. Follow this, please. He has made everything beautiful in its time, and also he has set eternity in their hearts. So that what now?
So that no man
Now he's talking about men. So that no man
can find out the work that God makes from the beginning to the end.
Hear this. How can I explain this? What can I use here? Okay, hear this. God who made everything beautiful, and time is coming when the beauty hidden within the thing will come out. Okay? And when you get to the thing and you see that the thing is not beautiful, what you need to verify is what?
It's time.
Huh?
Time.
Whose time?
It's time.
Versus whose time?
Our time.
So you're following, right? Because you might come back tomorrow and realize that what was once a seed has now become a what? A flower. So a seed that you'd have taken and you'd have given to your wife yesterday, and she was going to wonder, is this a charm or what? Had you waited for the time of the seed, what you would have actually carried from the forest was going to be a what? A flower. So it's bad according to your time, not according to its time. Are we together so far? So, then he also went on to put a program in all of his creation, and that program is called eternity. And then he goes on to say, so that men would not understand the workings of God from the beginning to the end. So the reason why eternity had to be put in creation, eternity had to be put in creation in other creatures apart from men. Yes, there is eternity in you, I'll explain that. But there is eternity put by God in all of his creation, so that your understanding of that creation is tempered with. Your understanding. So that men would not understand the workings of God from the beginning of the seed to the forest. From the beginning of the thing to the end. You are bound to misunderstand, and what helps you to not understand is the eternity that God has put in the thing. It is the eternity, the nature of God in the item. The nature, the attribute of God that he has put in a rock that causes you to misunderstand the working of God, the beginning of the rock until the end of the rock, the beginning of a tree until the end of the tree, the beginning of a situation, what you are going through right now. There is the beginning of it and there is the end of it. Why you are so worried is because of your misunderstanding of the working of God from the beginning of the problem to the end of the problem. You can only see as far as the problem. You can only see as far as bad. You look at the flower that we have over there, and there is wood. Okay? The chair is of wood, and we can see some flowers over there, some flowers over there. Now, this thing is on a journey, right? When God is working a matter, when God is setting eternity, if you are to be taken right now into a vehicle making factory, you will realize that the industry, the factory is divided into different segments. There is a place where if we are to take you there, what you will see is simply a skeleton. You might not even know the model of a car. There is no beauty there. Because there is the beginning of the matter and there is the ending of the matter. So be very careful at what stage have you arrived. You might not even know this is a Mercedes. There is nothing on its body to show, even where it's coming from, even where it is going. You have no access to the workings of God in a matter from the beginning of the thing to the end. And there is a place where if we are to take you there, you can clearly see this is a Mercedes, and you can see the color, the beauty, and because you have arrived at its time. But there was a time that you were not aware of. Okay? So what God has done by putting eternity in everything was so that his operations in that thing would remain mysterious. It's the eternity, the nature of God in a thing that makes the thing complex. So let me help you now how you can have an understanding of the thing so that you can discern your situation, discern your problem, so you know from the beginning of the problem to the end that it's a problem today, but it's a celebration at the end. Now, hear this. Hear this. When you get this revelation today, you will wipe away your tears. You don't need someone to console you. You don't need anyone to comfort you. Because now you will have access from the beginning of the movie to the end. You know how it is going to end. Crying today is because of your misunderstanding of the working of eternity in everything. Let me explain. Let me explain this. Be seated, please. Be seated. Be seated. When God puts eternity, I'm not sure whether. Can you all see this? Okay. This flower, I hope it's real. This flower that you see here was made by him. And beauty was put into this, not flower, but seed. Right. Right. Are you following? Okay. But this tree must be ready and be willing to be buried. Because right now this tree has become a celebrity. Look at how many people have come to witness the beauty of what was once a seed, that had we brought that seed here, it was never going to add to the beauty of this place. So before God would bring it to the public, there was a season where the tree was supposed to be willing to be buried underground. Those are moments of severe isolation where you are far detached from your reality. You are wondering, what am I doing? You are in the middle of darkness, buried deep down into the soil. This is why God was able to hide John until the time of his showing to the people of Israel.
Luke 1 verse 18.
Okay.
And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit and was in the deserts till the day of his showing unto Israel.
Unto Israel. So there was a day for the showing forth of this flower. Are you following this? Now, I want you to hear this. Hear this now. And hear me well. But when God made this tree, from the beginning to the end, he did it in eternity, where there was no time. So everything from the seed, the flower, the fruits, everything was present in that one moment called eternity. But when the seed then was transported into time, an environment that is governed by time, everything had to be rewinded back into a seed form. Okay? And one of the things that God put into this everything that he created is called eternity. And where really did God put eternity? In the heart of everything. So let me just teach you some few things there. The heart is not always a blood pumping organ. The heart is the intelligence, the mind, the wisdom of creation from God into creation, the wisdom of creation, the intelligence that creation has that helps it to survive. The heart of the plant, that's where God has put eternity into the heart of this plant. This plant has a heart.
Heart, mind, understanding.
You see, mind, understanding. There is a heart is a mind. It's an understanding.
Thinking, conscience.
Thinking, conscience. It means this thing is intelligent. This thing has knowledge. It might not have knowledge about you, but it has knowledge about itself. It knows itself. So if you really want to understand this plant here, first of all, you must have an appreciation of the existence of understanding within this creation that God has put into the heart, the thinking part of this plant. God has put in there eternity. Eternity was put into the heart of the plant so that you would not understand what God is doing from the beginning of the plant to the end. Now, The man who cannot understand is the man who is not aware of the presence of eternity in himself.
What can I say? What can I say?
Hear this. If there is a heart in this plant, which of course we've said the heart is what?
The mind,
The
the
mind.
understanding,
Or understanding.
knowledge.
Knowledge. So there is understanding, there is knowledge in that plant of itself. So if I start to explain to you this plant, and I'm telling you what this plant is, I'm saying it in the presence of a plant that has an understanding of itself, and it knows everything that I'm saying about itself is false. It has an understanding of itself. And this plant knows why I'm not able to understand it. If you ask the plant will tell you, God put eternity in me so that I'm misunderstood by men who have no understanding of their portion of eternity. Okay, let me put it this way. If you are going to understand the matter, I'm not here to talk about plans. I want you to look at your situation. You will look at your when I'm done, you will look at your problem again. And have an understanding, not your personal understanding of the problem, but the understanding that the problem has of itself. When you are able to tap into the understanding of the problem, and you know how it started and how it will end, being guided, having access not to your understanding but to the understanding of the problem, the heart of the problem. You will know exactly when it is going to end. Why? Because the problem knows when it is going to end. It is that intelligent. There is the heart of everything that God has made, and in that heart there is God put eternity. So look at this. Please, I'm sorry for what is happening. Forgive me. This thing, if I really want to understand what God has made, my understanding of God's creation will be limited as long as I look at his creation as a creature. If I look at God's creation as part of creation, meaning myself as a creature having been created by the Creator, if I then come and I begin to study flowers, like you've been to school, you are so educated, what you've been studying is what God has made. So when you are studying what God has made, it's creation that you are studying. And if you study creation from the perspective of a creature, you being a creature, it means your understanding of God's creation is going to be limited. So if I bring you here and I say to you, please explain to me the crops that you have in your field, you will explain the crop to the level of your understanding of the crop. But if I come and I look at God's creation not as a creature, but if I look at God's creation as the Creator, how? By looking at the plant through eternity that God has put in me, and I look into the eternity that God has put into the plant, then I have access to the knowledge that is stored in the plant, I will begin to know and to understand this plant at a level that it knows itself. Let me repeat it again. Any situation that you look at, you must have, please understand this. Are you looking at your situation as a creature? Or you're looking at your situation as the creator? Because when eternity is put into man, it's an attribute of God. That's what makes God God. Eternity. So if I look at this tree as the creator of the tree, my understanding of the tree is greater than when a scholar comes and all he wants to know is the formation of the tree, yet the student is not aware of his own formation. People are not aware of the nature of God in them. And all that they are concerned about is they want to study the clouds. They want to study how snow falls from the sky. They are ready to study everything else except themselves. And yet God is saying, first of all, take a study, investigate yourself. Understand the measure of eternity in you. When you have discovered that, it is by that eternity that you look at every other thing. And you will have access to their understanding. For you to look at the tree and be able to see that the tree is having a problem. Let me put it this way. If you are able to look at it, let me sit down. Let me also sit. You can see me from there. Hear this. Hear this. Can I explain something here? We are not here just to talk about trees. Put any situation before you. Right? Before you seek to understand what is happening around you, try and understand you, where things are happening around. If I look at the tree and I'm able to understand the tree and I'm able to perceive what the tree is going through, there is information that is external, what you have learned from school. But if you see this, if you see that, but there's a level of knowing that there is some kind of a connection that is there, that is created each time you look at a situation. When you look at an item long enough, there is an invisible connection between you and what you're looking at. To a point where if you keep on looking, and it's a deep look into the thing, into the situation, into the matter, that will result in the formation of a pathway. There is a link between you, the one who is observing, and what is being observed. there is a line, not just of communication, but a line of oneness. Where you will begin to know the tree, not based on what you've been told, but you'll begin to know the tree based on experiencing the life of a tree. And what you begin to say concerning the tree is what you're experiencing. There is a sharing of an experience where you are allowed to feel on its behalf. You now know what the tree is going through, not because you have been told, but because you have become it. So are you saying, I'm now a tree? Please follow me. Follow me. Everything that God has created external is in you. Let me give you this understanding. When next time you ask God for anything, you'll understand when you look at the beginning of the thing to the end of the thing, you realize that there is nothing that you will ever receive from God that you have not already received. Anything that you are going to ask God for, the reason why you are asking God for it, it is because of your unawareness of its presence. You are not aware that you have it. That's why you are asking for it. So if I come your way, all I need to do is not to provide what you're asking for. I simply have to open up your awareness. And then you will realize that you will never get anything from God that you don't have. Now, why did he put a principle in his book? That everything that you want to get in form of a harvest, you have to sow it. If you never had it.
Right?
If you ask God for love from people, God will direct you to a measure of love that you have, and he will say, give that. You will have to give love to get love. You will have, if you want people to be patient with you, it's patience that you need to sow into other people's lives. So the question is, if you didn't have patience then, why would God ask you to sow it so that you get it? If you didn't have love, you help people, you have sown a seed, people will have to also help you. Give and eat.
It shall be given unto you.
The it that you have given, it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and what? Running over. So everything that you are believing God for, there is a portion of that in you that needs to be sown into other people. So when you say, God, give me, God will say, give it. God, give me that, God will say, you have a measure of that in you. If it's forgiveness, you really want people to forgive you. What happens first?
You forgive.
My God.
So it means there was forgiveness in you that you are asking God for. You wanted people to forgive you, yet in you there was forgiveness. you sow that and you get it back from the people. But the question is, but when you were asking for it, you thought you never had it.
Yeah.
That's the issue now.
Yeah.
You want to be surrounded by happy people, joyful people. It is the joy in you that you need to sow into their lives. You have it. So you don't walk around looking for joy. No, you invest the little joy that you have into the lives of people that matter to you, and you'll get it from the people as a harvest. Then at that point, you will now remember what I'm preaching, that you had it in the first place, what you were asking for. But you were only not aware. You've been to every street, to every guy looking for love, because you thought it was something external. God has to give it to me from outside. It was in you. So hear this now. Hear this. So everything outside is represented in you. That's how God has created you. So if you do you know that you cannot look at a tree and see that look at the leaves. There is this leaf here, it's not growing well, and you feel pity for the tree. And you say, what do I do? Do I need to water it? But you can sense there is something wrong with the tree, but just by looking at it. You can see something is wrong. Do you know that there is no way that you can ever see that unless there is a correct template of an actual healthy tree in you, by which you compare what you are seeing externally and what you have internally. It is that comparison that helps you identify that there is a problem that this tree is going through. So that external tree must have its representation in you. It's not just in knowledge form. That knowledge of a tree in you, it's in tree form. Knowledge of a thing is never in the form of knowledge. Any knowledge that you have of a thing is in form of a thing that you know. Whether it's a car that you know, it's knowledge of a car, but that knowledge of the car is in the shape of a car. You're not following what I'm saying. So, maybe we need to have another class just for disciples, not here. Sit down, please. This is why the longer you spend looking at a problem, be careful of the connection where you become one with the problem that you're trying to solve. Is that all that Moses did was staying for too long in the presence of God. God did not even lay his hands on him. When he left the presence of God could not leave him. He became one with his experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And he's coming back and his face is shining. He's not even aware. What was that? And I told you about the tree that Moses had to set a stick, a rod, a cross that he erected in the wilderness, and on it was a serpent that he made. And everyone with a problem of poison in his body, the instruction was, look, don't touch, look at the serpent. Just by looking at the serpent, they recovered. By looking at the serpent, there was something about that serpent which got into them. You have poison in your body, they use the poison of a snake to cure the poison in your body. It's a lesson just on observing. How much time have you spent looking at the problem? And gradually you are becoming that problem. And you will not be able to destroy a problem that has now become you. Because you love yourself so much that you would not want to destroy yourself. And the problem is intelligent enough, it has a heart. The problem knows that if it stays in isolation in your life, you will deal with it. So it gets into you, it becomes you. You are one with your problem. And the doctor can just look at you and say, this man is depressed. And when they say that you are depressed, they are saying you are depression. But there was a time when that stress, that depression was external.
Yes.
And you kept on gazing and looking at it, and a connection was established.
Push it, Father. Push it, Father. Push it, Father.
All right. So the eternity that God has put in all of his creation, what is there to do? What is that eternity doing in creation? Let me help you understand something here. Eternity that God has put in all of his creation is so that all of his creation that he created would be present eternally. Nothing that God has created that is in existence that will not exist. Everything that is in existence will forever exist. That's the power of eternity. Nothing that God has formulated, created, that he has brought into being will vanish forever. Including this earth, it will be there forever. You will be there forever. There is nothing that we can do to you now that will cause you to become non-existent. There is nothing we can do. Nothing so far. Of all the things that the devil can do. Because you are afraid right now, right? You fear. You are living in fear of not being there anymore. But I'm coming to help you understand the workings of eternity in God's creation. That once you have existed, you must forever celebrate your existence because you will forever exist. Even if we cremate you, we put you in a furnace, you will still become ashes. You are still there. If we take your ashes, we throw it into the sea, even the density of water, it changes. Your presence will still be there in the sea. If we take you, we put you into sulfuric acid and we dissolve your body. Where people can now come, they can no longer see you. If we are to test the quality of the acid, it is contaminated. Who is contaminating the acid? It's your presence. You will forever be present. What can happen to you that you can be there's no problem that can forever, that can consume you. It's your misunderstanding of the operation of eternity in your body. Sit down. So, why are you worried? Imagine this kind of knowledge. Next time you look at your children, the fear of losing them goes away, because now you know, since I've been able to bring them into existence, they will forever exist. Your understanding from that moment changes. They will forever exist. And I asked you this question some time back. Now that Naaman is healed from leprosy, and the prophet is saying, Naaman's leprosy is coming upon you. Where was it at that time? Because Naaman had recovered. Naaman had recovered. Why? Because leprosy had existed, and it will have to forever what? Exist. But where was it? And what was a leper there? It is still in existence, but in another form. Even you have many forms. That is why there is the you that you don't like. And you always say, why did I do that? The one who did it will never regret ever doing it. Be seated, please. So, hear this. So, if I'm looking at a tree and I can see that the tree is sick, and then that understanding that I'm having of the tree is based on a standard of a tree. Unless I have a tree in me, a healthy one, there is no way that I can look at a tree that is sick outside and know, because you are measuring that with what? So there must be a standard of eternity in you that helps you measure when something has gone wrong externally. Same applies when you are healing the sick. There must be the health person. The original template of the person that you are praying for must be in you. So you measure based on that. So that's why Jesus would keep on laying his hands, and then he finds out, how is it? And he says, I'm seeing now people like trees. And then he comes, because he's comparing this man to an internal being. There is an original template. Now, if I invite somebody here, okay? If I invite somebody here, anyone that I can use, if you can come. Okay, not you, somebody else. Okay, Pastor. Now, Pastor, I want you to do your legs like this. What is he doing? Now, I did not say to him, walk. I said to him, do your legs what? Like this. Okay, do like this. What is he doing? Jumping. Okay. Go back again. Do your legs like this, but make it faster. Make it faster. Faster, 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 faster. What is he doing?
Running.
Okay, you can sit down. You can sit down. Now, there is no way that you were ever going to know that he is walking unless there was a person, not just knowledge. There is a being in you. And you looked at him. At some point he was standing, and then when he began to walk, that action corresponded with a being in you that moves like that, and you already had a name for that action. Unless there was a being in you walking, you wouldn't have known he's walking. Unless there is a person in you running, there is no way you were ever going to know. All I'm saying is, you might be wondering, so is that knowledge a person in me? I'm saying that knowledge that you have is in person form. Immediately you knew. If it was your first time seeing a person running, you were never going to know that what he's doing is running.
Yes.
So there is a program in you of everything that you see outside. It's there in you. Whatever you are going to ask God for, it's in you.
Thank you.
It's in you. So what we are doing now is to let you know that you know. I'm not even trying to give you new knowledge, new information that you never had. Because there is nothing new that you are ever going to know except that which you knew. Going to school, everything that you say, "Whoa, I've learned this today." No. The only thing that I can help you know is what you have already known. Prophet Makunyepa.
How you say your life?
Yeah. Because pane paunasonzwa kuti zvinhu izvi asanyambozvinzwa.
These things I've never heard about.
This is what is happening. When God made you, he made knowledge and information about everything available in you. So you were designed by God knowing. Then from that moment you were exposed to wrong information. And take for instance, let's say that knowledge that God gave to you originally in eternity is in gold form. So you came carrying knowledge which is golden. Then when you started going to school, they started to rubberize. And the gold was coated by rubber. Wrong information about everything. So when people look at you, they see you as an ignorant person because they can't have access to the gold. Because of what you think you now know. People made you to know what is against the value that God has put in you. So if you come into a classroom and I'm now educating you, all I'm doing is removing wrong information and exposing the right information that you were having. Even when you see he's shaking his head like he's hearing for the first time. What he is hearing for the first time is what was in him. I'm removing wrong information about you that was surrounding the right information about you. And when that right information is exposed, you would think that you are knowing, now you are knowing, yet you were knowing.
My God.
Explain. Eternity is in all of God's creation, so that his creation is forever eternal. There is that nature of God, not just in you, that nature of God which is you. That helps you see the world as God sees the world eternally. You know how the matter is going to end by the help of eternity. From today, I want you to know the part of you that is in existence and the part of you that is non-existent, yet in existence. You are in existence. Know the part of you that is in existence, and also know the part of you that is non-existent. Because the part of you, or the part of God that you are, that is eternal, is non-existent. Same applies. You are just like your God who is non-existent. God doesn't exist. Existence is when something stands out of something. When you become, you are existing. You have to come out of something in order for you to exist. And God never came out of anything. He is what he was. He is the I am. So if he gives you a likeness which is of that nature, it means there's a part of you that is coming out of non-existence and it's not existent. Because in as much as he breathed you out of himself, you are still attached to him. You are like a yo-yo. Wherever you go, there is a link between you as God and God. That's why you are still able to live a life of the Spirit, having been given birth to by the Spirit. You are still connected to the Spirit that brought you out. When God breathed you out, just like when you breathe out, you will still remain connected to that breath. The breath outside of you is connected to the breath inside. When you breathe out, it has not departed. We can trace it back into you. The part of God that keeps him well and forever. We have given him enough problems, but he's never in any depression. Eternity is helping him survive problems that we are creating for him. He sees us from an eternal point of view. When you are that eternal and you look at a tree, you become the creator. And your understanding of the tree is not the understanding of another creation of a tree. You have inherited the understanding of the tree. You look at a tree, the way that you know a tree, it's not like you're being told. You look at a tree, you know why you made it.
Yeah.
You know the knowledge that you gave to it. Let us say,
What can I do?
eternity is in all of his creation, you included, even as a body. There is the presence of what? Eternity. And it is by that eternity that you understand eternity, that you understand also everything else by that eternity. Now hear this. Hear this. Let's say I would want to, there are people that I minister to that are not feeling well. And I have a way of knowing that they are not well. Not when they have told me that I'm not well. Okay. If you are able to become them, even in a flash, you will know most of their secrets, depending with the time that you spend being them. Okay, let me I'm saying, if we put a rock here, and you have an ability to become that rock, you will begin to know about that rock, not prophetically. It is simply information about yourself. You are not being told anything about the rock. You know it by its knowing. If I become you, I will know things that you know.
All right.
And I can even tell you things that you don't know, that you know. Because it's in your subconscious. Jesus is a high priest who is touched by the feelings of our infirmities. An infirmity is a weakness. And yet the one weak is not weak. Being touched by the feeling of another person's infirmity, it means you are feeling on his behalf. It is his infirmity, but the feeling of that infirmity is not being felt by the one who is weak. Jesus is over here and he feels weak. And he says, "Who touched me?" Because there's a woman that was that weak because of loss of blood. And when Jesus is touched, the feeling of that infirmity gets transferred. So Jesus is feeling exactly what the woman was what? Feeling. So that prophetic ministration is not at a level of hearing or seeing. You are becoming what you are looking at.
Yeah.
I'm saying this not just so that you know how to prophesy. I'm saying this so that you see the dangers that you have created for yourself by looking at anything not through the eyes of eternity. How problems are transferred. How problems are what? Transferred. Have you seen that most couples that have been together for years, if one person is sick and that person dies, it's a matter of time the other one follows. Huh? Because the other one was sitting there, observing, becoming one with the patient. And when you witness that disease overcoming your partner, the entire template has to be reproduced. Being touched by the feelings of your infirmities. Jesus would be in a place and he would feel a disease. Can I tell you something? Sit down.
Tell us.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down. That's how Jesus sometimes would heal the sick. Because if you are having an infirmity, which is what? Weakness. And then the feeling of weakness is not on you, it's on him. What are you feeling? You're not getting it. If you, he is touched by the feelings, right? So infirmities have feelings, right? When you have an infirmity, you feel it. Infirmity means weakness, and you feel weak. If he is touched by the feelings of my infirmity, it means I'm no longer feeling weak. The feeling of this infirmity is now with him, and that feeling is called weakness. So what I'm experiencing here is healing. Not because my pain is now non-existent, it's now existing elsewhere. He takes it upon himself because he knows how to deal with it. Naaman's leprosy is still there. So when he bore our weaknesses and he took our infirmities and even our diseases, how did he do that? No preacher can explain that to you. It was all being transferred, allowing himself to be touched by the feelings of humanity, being sick on our behalf. But he had an understanding on how to make use of eternity so that you are not overwhelmed by feelings of infirmity. There is no disease that God cannot heal you from. If you are to get this understanding today, it is this understanding that gives you authority over any feeling. Okay, let me show you something here. Let me show you something. If I'm supposed to help the tree recover from a sickness, like I help other people to recover from sicknesses, what exactly is happening there? Do you know that if a tree is close to you, even if creation is close to you, now you're aware that creation is aware of your presence. So creation is not ignorant of your presence. That's why creation is eagerly waiting for the manifest. You can't wait unless you are intelligent. You must be an intelligent being in order for you to know what it is to wait. Because then you will know when the sons have arrived. You have a way of recognizing their arrival. It means you are an intelligent creature. So creation is aware of your presence. And creation is really benefiting from your presence. And I've given this illustration before. I asked you a question. If you move out of your house for the next 3 years, just move out of your house, go and stay somewhere else. Out of your house and never come, just lock the doors. You make sure no one gets in. By the time you come back, even the ceiling boards are falling. 3 years, ceiling boards. But my question is, when you were there, what were you doing to the ceiling to keep it intact? Every cleaning that you were doing, you never covered the what? The ceiling. But your absence is felt by creation. You give a reason to creation to survive. So somehow, everything around you is surviving by reason of being connected in an invisible way to the Creator, the eternity in you. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. Sit down, sit down, sit down. You are giving life even to the disease You can decide today before we go back home. If you make a decision today that you want to kill your disease, it will die before you go home. I can prove this to you. I can prove this to you. If you make a decision, please sit down. I know I'm about to finish, but what's Zafambara? Sit down, please. Sit down. Just give me a few more minutes. Just few more minutes. Sit down. If you remain standing, then I know you want to go home. So sit down. If the tree would need me to heal it, there must be the willingness of the tree to submit to the original template that I bring to its attention. If you are going to talk to the tree, you don't talk to the tree as Jesus, you talk to the tree as the tree. You become one with the fig tree and you dry it from here. It was easy for him to dry it up without touching it, simply by becoming it. So, in that case, Jesus is not angry with the tree. The tree is angry. The tree is not happy. There's a connection between Jesus and the tree. There is a line that makes them one. Everything outside of you is in you. There is a part in you of that. You correct that part in you of that changes. So once a tree is connected to me, it means the tree has two roots. One root that goes into the ground, another root that comes to me. If I can curse a tree and it dries up, despite the presence of another root going into the ground, it means this other root is more powerful than that one. Are you following this? Jesus did not cut the other roots. No, that connection where they were now one. So you can heal. What is that root doing in me? That root of a tree, what is it doing in me or from me? Feeding. What is it taking from me? The tree. The tree, when the tree is in the ground, right? When the tree is on the ground, the tree is not feeding on soil. It's not feeding on sand. No. The tree, when the tree is sitting on the ground and the roots are getting into the ground, into the dust, what the tree is looking for is a tree. What gives life to the tree is the tree. The tree has to feed on the tree. No sand will feed the tree. The tree has to find itself from the ground. It only eats itself. There are three components in the soil. Same applies every food that you eat. You don't make use of all of it. You only take yourself from the food. It's only your body, your flesh, that you take out of an orange. And anything else that is not you, that's what comes out. That is why what you are eating becomes you.
Thank you, Father.
Become what you're eating, yeah.
The rice becomes flesh.
Yeah.
The potatoes becomes flesh.
More fat.
What you are seeing maybe is a change where it was once food, now it has become flesh. No, you took flesh out of the food. And what was not flesh was what then came out. You feed on yourself for you to survive. The tree, which is on the ground, has to go into the ground searching for a tree so that you feed on yourself. Your connection to God is what gives you survival. What's your question? Ah, okay.
There's a question here.
Thank you.
Just ask somebody new.
Thank you for the opportunity, my father. I have a comment and a question. First, my comment is to say thank you so much for this revelational word. I believe it is bringing healing and order to the world. Because all along what we thought was understanding was actually ignorance. But you've helped us to understand what it is to understand.
But that ignorance is understanding. Okay? Yes, that ignorance is also understanding. You must understand the measure of understanding in that ignorance. That's why if I give you an answer that doesn't satisfy you, you can show it that you are not satisfied, yet you are not aware of the correct answer. Why is that so? It means that ignorance has some form of knowledge. So you're not entirely ignorant. And sometimes you're not entirely knowing. I don't want you to feel bad that I'm an ignorant person. Because it takes awareness, it takes knowledge for one to know that he's ignorant. It's a measure of understanding that helps you understand that you don't have understanding. Let he who lacks wisdom come to God. Yet it takes wisdom to know that you don't have it. So don't always beat yourself and say, I'm an ignorant person. The fact that you know that you are ignorant means you know. Go ahead.
Thank you for that, Prophet. Let me use the street lingo, Makanyanya Baba. Then my question is, I'll give an example in a marriage setup. I have my husband. I want him to change in certain areas. Maybe I want him to come to church, or I want him to stop drinking and things like that. So do I remain patient because you manifest his good? Or I can use the understanding and eternity in me to expedite the process of him becoming who I want him to be?
You are going to face a disappointment because of the mission that you've embarked on, which is wanting to change another person. That's where you started from. If I want to change him, as the creator of things, before you attempt to change anything, these are things that you need to be aware of. Your idea of wanting to change something which is already something into something else, which it is not. Are you aware of that which was, that has now become nothing? And you now have what you prefer. Because in changing, there is something about the person that probably you don't like, that you don't prefer, and you want him to change. So that when he changes, that's the issue. So that when he changes, what then happens to you? What becomes of you when the man is to change? Okay? If the man is to change, I'm not talking about just improvements, I'm talking about changes. Are you aware of a different husband that you now have that you never had? Because the previous one you could not handle. Your inability to handle the present man, hence you want to change him. It's not because he is weak, it's because you are weak. Your inability to handle him now as he is. Have you noticed that people have gone as far as just like in loving things? Very sorry for using this illustration. In loving things, in loving pets, some people are keeping snakes as pets, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes what they do is to remove the teeth. Some are keeping even lions as pets. They remove maybe the teeth or even the nails. Huh? And they love their pets so well. Follow this. It's love for the pet. But there is something about the pet that they don't allow the pet to have. So their love is conditional. As long as you have your teeth, I will not love you. So come stay with me and have your teeth what? Removed. Then I will love you. Because that's what your plan is. You really want to love this man as long as certain things on him are what? Removed. Some they've gone as far. There is somebody who was being interviewed who was having a skunk. No Chidembo, as a pet. And they were asking, so how are you able to live with this? And he said, I took it for a surgery. So they removed the part that smells. So now he's loving a skunk. It's no longer a skunk that you are loving. If you really loved the skunk, you should have allowed the skunk to be the skunk. And you love the skunk.
Thank you, my father. My husband used to call himself a skunk.
Huh? He used to call himself
a skunk.
Anyway. This is the love that most of you people are preparing yourselves to give. If only he can change. So you are reserving love for a changed man. So what you're waiting for is a surgery first. True love. Because naturally, that thing was given to the skunk. It's part of its nature. If it is supposed to lose that first before you love it, then you are not loving it for what it is. I'm not saying, please follow me, I'm not saying your husband is good. I'm not saying your wife is good. I'm simply trying to bring your attention to yourself so that you seek to improve yourself first. I would have believed that you love the skunk if it was spraying you all over and you are still loving it. But people, they take even monkeys, they keep them in the house, they are putting diapers on them and so on. And it's jumping from one television to another couch and so on. That life, in as much as you are loving the monkey, you have taken it out of its environment. So you have allowed it to compromise just so that you can love it. So your love is not pure. It's not pure. Sit down. Sit down. I know, so let like moyo so because about aiwa munhu ngagadzirisewo man.
It's actually
Munhu ngagadzirisewo uti wirirane mumba. But all I'm saying is, let's agree first that you have failed on your part to love him the way he is. So it's a compromise that we have to do here, where the person has to change first. It's a failure on your part. I know it's painful, but that's the reality. It's a failure on your part. If he is to change, and then he comes back a changed person, and you are now able to love him, it is because you could not handle your first marriage. This is your second marriage with the same man. So what you're seeking is divorce without separation. Okay, thank you. Let me have another one.
Thank you, my father. You were talking about eternity, where there is a connection between God and us. I want to understand about all those verses where it is said, do not lean on your own understanding. Do not worry. Fear not. Isn't it God calling us to being the God beings so that we manage things and nature the way he manages it? Because in him we find anger, but he managed it in a way that we are astonished. I'm astonished about that.
By the way he manages anger.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I want to know if he is not calling us back, like you said, that he's calling our spirits back to service them and to make us whole again.
Okay, so he's making reference to the mind. Let's look at the mind of Christ that we have. The mind of Christ, you see, the Bible talks about the spiritual man judges all things, yet he himself is judged by no man. But it starts by saying, no man knows the things of God. What you're telling me about God is not anything that you know. It's the God in you that knows himself. No man knows the things of God,
1 Corinthians 2 verse
but the Spirit of God in him.
11. For what man knoweth the things of a man?
What
save-
man knows the things of a man? Let's jump up. Let's keep that one where a man knows the things of another. Get to slightly just 2 lines below, and then you will see so is, because it's in comparison to you knowing God, and he says also no man knows the things of God. Okay, finish the same verse.
For what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of a man which is in him?
Yeah.
Even so, the things of God knoweth no
Even
man.
so, the things of
God.
you have just told me, the things of God. Even so, the things of God know what?
Knoweth no man,
So no man knows the things of God. So what knows the things of God?
but the Spirit of God.
But the Spirit of God. So no man, everything about God that you know, you don't know. If you know the things of God by the Spirit of God, it means you don't know God. It is the God in you that knows himself. So when you look at it from that point, then the next verse, lest you are keep on reading. Now you understand the mind that you have.
Which also things we also speak, not in the word which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things
To what?
with spiritual.
Yes.
But-
Comparison has to be spiritual to spiritual. Yes.
But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned.
That's the natural man. Yes.
But he that is spiritual
But
judgeth
he that is what?
spiritual.
I wish I could really draw. Look at that. But he that is spiritual judges
Judges
how many
all-
things?
All things.
By being spiritual, you are given an ability to judge all things. By judging, it doesn't mean passing on judgment as like in a court. It means being investigative, scrutinizing all things. Huh? When you are spiritual, you have an ability to scrutinize all things. Yet he himself is judged of no man. So what is he talking about? So look at the word spiritual, and you look at the word himself. If you look at himself and you look at spiritual, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things. It means the himself there has been qualified by his spirituality to judge all things. Yet he himself, the spiritual, is judged of no man. There is no man who can judge the spiritual man. It means his spirituality cannot be measured, cannot be investigated by a man who is not as spiritual as he is. I'm trying to help you understand now, because we are talking about the mind of God that he also has anger and is managing it and so on. And you are saying he wants to deliver us from our own mind. Okay, so finish that one and then we see.
But
See the
he
mind.
But he that is spiritual judges all things, yet he himself is judged of no man.
No man can judge. Not another man, but the spiritual. So my spirituality can never be judged by a man who lacks spirituality. Okay? So a man who doesn't have the spirituality that I have cannot even say that I'm angry when I'm angry. You are trying to deal with anger because of a definition that you got from a wrong guy. So you will be working so hard to manage anger, yet it is the wrong definition of it that you got from a carnal man who told you that why are you always angry? So you have allowed your spirituality to be judged by a man who is not at your level of spirituality. So that's why you can only say God is angry when you have come to his measure of spirituality and you judge his intentions and his actions. That's the only time that you can say God is angry. Because being a man and God being a spirit, how can you even judge him?
To
And
judge is to inquire into, to scrutinize, to investigate.
That's the word. And a physical man, whether it's your brother or your sister that is not born again, cannot help you adjust your character. The only character that they can address is the physical. When it comes to the spirituality, he that is spiritual will judge all things, including those that are trying to judge them. You scrutinize them. It's a right given to you by your level of spirituality. So if you are going to know God by God, child of God, hear this. If you are going to know God by God, it means to a certain degree you can almost tell the amount of God that you have by the amount of knowledge of God that you have. You can almost know. If no one knows the things of God but the Spirit of God in a man, if you have a Spirit of God and by that Spirit you know God, it means if you want to measure the amount of God in you, you can measure by measuring what you know. Because you know God by God. If you know God by God, how much of God you now have can be measured by how much of God you know. You measure what you know. You don't. Okay. All right. So just to finish it, and then we go on to the next thing.
But he that is spiritual judges all things, yet he himself is judged.
He's judging everything,
of no
but
man.
he's not judged by any man. Okay? But then the question is going to come, who can instruct the Lord?
For who hath known the mind of the Lord?
Who has known the mind of God to instruct him?
That he may instruct him, but we have the mind of Christ.
So you can never, at your level of being one with him, you can never look at God and say to God, why are you angry? Because if you are one with him, you must be angry together with him. And you will not even ask why, because you will know why you are angry. If we have the mind of Christ, and if Christ is to be angry, we are not in a position to even find out that he is angry. Because we are that mind with which he gets angry. So we will not even question God, why are you angry? Whenever God is angry, we will know that he is angry by us being angry. The moment you realize that you are a Moses and God is angry with the people, and you are on the other side, it's your measure of spirituality. It's your measure of spirituality. Abraham was a spiritual man, but he had not fully come to the stature of God. That is why he was not in agreement with what God was about to do to Sodom and Gomorrah. But the men that God was walking with were not even interceding on behalf of the city. They were ready to go and set it on fire. They are in agreement with God. If God is angry, they are angry. If God is happy, they are happy. So stop worrying about that difference. I don't want this question to come as a result of having been condemned by people that lack spirituality. And they are telling you what you are not. You must be aware of your being. You must be. Before they come to judge you, you must have judged yourself to the standard of the Spirit. And you know that if you look at a person at that level of spirituality and you don't like the person, it's not an emotional problem that you are having towards him. You know God is not interested. You are at that level where, I don't know. You can be in a relationship with a person that you feel is wrong. And the feeling of that person being a wrong person in your life is not justified. There is no justification. The person has never insulted you. And yet you feel I have a wrong connection. When you are having that feeling which doesn't have a justification, you don't then keep on going back to God to ask, why am I losing interest in this guy? Because the mind that you are trying to consult, you are consulting the mind of the Lord with the mind of the Lord. You have things that God is telling you that you might not even you're not even aware of. Yet He is telling you. Do you know that in chapter 13 of the book of 1 Samuel, when Saul had sinned, and he had offered a sacrifice which was supposed to be offered only by the prophet. And the prophet comes and he says, what you have done, this thing that you have done, the kingdom that God was going to establish in your house forever shall no longer be established.
But now thy kingdom shall not continue.
But, hear this.
The Lord hath sought him a man
God has sought him a man
after his own heart.
After his own heart, but hear this. And he has actually, what God has commanded
him to be captain over his
God
people.
Has what?
Commanded him
to be what?
Captain over his people.
And who is that man? You know him.
David.
David will be anointed in chapter 15 and 16. This is in chapter 13. Saul has sinned and is being told that there is a man that God has commanded to lead his people. David was yet to be called. David was yet to be anointed. Yet according to the prophet, David has already been commanded to lead the nation. So David already has a commandment. But it is in what form? It's in a form that David cannot comprehend. So when David is going to be told by the prophet that you are the king of Israel, it's not an announcement of or the introduction of new knowledge. It's an unveiling of the commandment that God had already placed on his heart. So there are things about you that people might want to come and judge you from their lack of understanding of you. Do you have an understanding of your eternity, nature? Eternity, nature. When you make a judgment in the house as a father, somebody might see that to be wrong. You can make a ruling as a father, and according to your wife's level of understanding, it might be a wrong decision. So when you try to explain, the only thing that you can do is explain, but you are not guaranteed of an understanding. Why? Because she has to understand you from the wife's perspective and never from the husband. She will never. Same applies when she also makes a decision and she's telling you of something that is supposed to be understood by a woman, and you are not a woman. You are deprived of that platform that helps you understand a woman. You have never been one. So why am I saying what I'm saying? I'm saying this so that you understand the people around you that might condemn you of a certain character you have. It might actually be a character which is not as bad as it appears. If people were to look at the beginning of it and to the end of it and approach it in its right time. It's the same.
I once gave you an example. This is what helped me.
Nharo dziri papa tichingoti tichiseka zvinhu kati idzo dzidzi nharo dzikuoma musoro ikoko
Yes, the hardness of the heart.
ndokwasaka nhasi tinge tiri
This is why you have stood.
nokuti kune vanga vasingade
There are others who didn't
kuti tinge tiri tese vanofurira vanodii but nenharo idzo dzidzi ndikati kwete.
say it because of that reason.
Saka ukadzitarisa in its time,
So when you look at it,
everything is what? Beautiful. Kuti tisvike patasvika apa funga kuti vangani vandifurira.
to get to where we are, just imagine how many people have been to us arguing and discouraging us.
Muri kuzvifollowa? So the character, when people are coming and they are judging you, and you are worried about a certain nature that you think is not of God, try and understand God more. Then you realize that sometimes you are feeling on his behalf. You are one with him. One spirit with him. You now have his mind. So most of the issues that you think, I have a problem, I have an issue here, I want to correct here, I want to correct. Do you have a proper template? Do you have a proper template? Because you cannot say, I want to change my life unless you have another life already present. You can't. I know you can, but you can't. You cannot think of a different person that you wish to become if you are not that already. You can't perceive a better husband, which is non-existent. Everything that is perceived is in existence. You cannot think of something now that is non-existent. If you can be able to think about it, it's now in existence. Imaginations are existences. A thought is in existence. So I'm saying you cannot think think that I want to change my life and I want to become a better me. Unless there is that better already in you. Is there. So don't worry. You were trying to compare yourself, seeing the anger of God versus your anger, and you are saying God is able to manage his, but I'm not able. Who told you that you're not able? I can prove you wrong. Who told you that you're not able to manage your anger like God manages his? Who told you? Proof is all over the place. You were supposed to be in jail right now. If you could not control there are people that you could have killed. Who has anger that he is not managing here? You see, I'm showing it to you from another perspective. How many people have you looked at and you said, and you walk away? Who is managing that? That's not you, that's him, the owner of the anger. Eternity that is in you. That's how God manages his anger. That's it. So you're not in any competition. Whilst God is managing his and you're over here managing your own. No, you share. That's the same anger. Where you thought you controlled yourself, it was God controlling his own anger. You may be seated. Another one. I think we are about to close now. We are about to close.
Father, for this opportunity.
For this
Thank you.
opportunity to ask you a question. My question goes like this. You have taught today about how things work for the good, right? And you have tied this verse to the verse of how a thing becomes beautiful in its time. So my question was, Father, is it possible, since we have life eternally, to be active from eternity, to produce the good that we desire to see, or to produce results the way we want them to come out, by having that mastery of chronological time from eternal time, and produce the exact results through control of events until the thing comes out the way I want it to come out in its time? Thank you, Father.
That's exactly what you're doing. You know, there are so many times that you find yourself controlling situations and you're not aware. Like in this instance, you have just asked a question. And I'm about to answer.
Thank you, Father.
You stood and you spoke like God spoke. And God said, let there be light. And he sat and he relaxed. And light came into being. You stood, you asked the question, you said, now everything has been set in motion by you. I'm about to answer you now. But are you aware of the control, the power to control that you've already exhibited? Being aware is the problem. Can you take an account of what you have done so far? Which is proof that you are powerful enough to control events. That's exactly what you're doing. It is not up to the events to bring you joy because you're saying, can I do that? Can I create something that when the time of the thing comes, something good will come out of it? I don't want you to rely on happenings around you. The nature of God in you can determine activities around you. Activities, events that you're looking forward to Why would you want, what is it that you are hoping to see? Can somebody give me an example of something that you are hoping to have, an event that you think will give you joy? What would that be? Because he's talking about the future, our ability, mastery over this eternity so that we can manipulate events. And the reason for the manipulation is just so that you are happy. You want this world to be good for you, but what is that specific event? Imagine all these people, thousands and thousands of people. We are struggling to have just a few hands. But I would want people to, please, let's challenge this opportunity. What is it that you want? Yes, go ahead. Just go.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, my father. Thank you for the teachings. I think right now, just as an example, I'll give an example of what I would really want and maybe just help on how I can manipulate the universe into getting it. That would be getting the husband that I will love for the rest of their life. How do I manipulate the universe?
The husband that you will love for the rest of your life. Okay, yes? Yes. Yes, she has been attending school. She knows how to ask. She's no longer looking for a husband that loves her. Okay. It means she was listening some time back. Okay. But I don't know, why do you feel there is a need for the universe to be manipulated for such a husband to be found?
Because it's not happening, my father.
What is not happening? What is not happening? Are you telling me there is no man in the universe who's looking for someone to love him? What is not happening?
My father, it's
Yes.
what you know that you want, that you look at a person and you know that this is not it. So you tell them that this is what I want, and easily, these boys will run like this.
Andira kunzwa zvawataura. Imi muri kuita noise vanini.
I didn't hear you people are making a lot of noise.
Wati kudii?
What did you say?
Hanzi kudii?
What did she say?
Aiwa ndinoda kunzwa.
I want to hear.
I think vakomana ndezvavanzwa handiti?
I think the boys have heard something.
Mwanasikana wati kudii?
What did the girl say?
Ngativape mukana vatsanangure. Nyaya yakutaura inenge nemusoro handiti?
Let's give her an opportunity. What she is saying makes a lot of sense.
Ndoda pamama kutsanangura pakupedzisira pamazovhiringidzwa nevana.
I didn't hear the last part that you were explaining when you were disturbed by these people.
Hanzi.
Baba, you said, with what I am teaching you and what you know, the list of the people that are going to see you and want to be with, like that are going to be eligible to be with you is going to be very short. Maybe munamato iwoyo ndo wakatisungira play baba.
Maybe that prayer is the one that is holding on to everything.
ya imwe.
It's now a
All right.
different story.
I'll forgive you. Ndakusesa kubvunza kuti mati kudii futi.
She's now wondering if she can ask, what did you say again?
All right, it's okay. Kadimba usipe yangu mvunzo ndewe youth anditika.
Okay, I'll spare this question to the youth.
Pastor Simba mazondi invite. Mondi invite.
Simba, invite me for this person.
Vaminongo ingoronga ichi program ndouya ndiratidze vanhu ava kuti kuroora kumbonetsa haizi nyaya kutoswerera vanhu zvamuri kuita izvi.
Just organize a program, invite me, I'll come and tell these people that marrying is not a problem.
Aiwa. Aiwa, imimi ndimuri complicated imi.
You are the people that are complicated.
Saka ndinouya
I'll come.
katisi.
I'll come.
Because handisi kuda kurwadzisa kushungurudza dzimwe hama dziri pano.
I don't want to come and cause pains to some of the people that are here.
Vanonzwa sei vakakanganisa kare.
Those that feel as if they are
But
disturbing the
ndinouya
children.
kuyouth iko kundokubatsirai.
So when I come to the youth
Thank you
program, I'll
for thank
help
you for raising that one, but ndinoziya muyedzo mukandiendesa ikokoko ndopinda imwe service futi nemi pano.
I know
But
the
ngatimboisiya iyo
temptations.
ndipe umwe mubvunzo, but
Let's
I've
leave
taken
that
note of that. Watiparira conference iwewe ye-youth.
We've actually caused a conference.
Thank you for that. Let's have another one. Chingo manya chidaro.
Thank you, my father, for this opportunity. It's amazing that you have been talking about time today. I have a challenge in my life that oftentimes I find myself arriving whether I'm too early or I'm too late for an opportunity. And I end up destroying opportunities, or I end up not enjoying whatever I would have pursued in life. So my question is, my father, I would need your help in knowing when it is the right time for an opportunity, given sometimes I feel like I'm moving too slow, and then when I get there, I'm too early.
I wanted to ask him kuti wakambokurira kumusha here. But
Just wanted to ask if you grew up
ndazeza
in the
kuwezo
village.
chirungu mabudiro achiri kuita.
Because the way you are speaking English,
But kana wakakurira kumusha,
if you grew up in the village,
muchiita mabhazi ekumukira ayayi.
and you had to wake up very early to wait for the buses,
Munofanira kusvika nguva yakaita sei pabus stop?
what time did you need to get to the bus stop?
When you are going to the bus stop, are you going for the bus stop or for the bus? Time yaunofanira kusvikapo, kusvika bhazi riripo, kusvika bhazi raenda.
Did you have to get to the bus stop when the bus is
Or
still
kusvika
there, or
bhazi risati
when
rauya?
it has gone, or before it arrives?
Is there a problem in arriving early? Now, as long as you now know that if I get there too early, what I'm going to find is a seed and not a flower. Right? As long as you now have that understanding, don't fear arriving early, too early. Because now you have been trained in terms of patience. You know that I'm being a part of an organization which is still at its infancy level. Nothing much can be said about that company at the time you're wanabasa. Uri munhu wakuunderstanda kuti ndinogona kusikowana iri modzi.
You are a person who is now understanding that you may arrive and yet it's still a seed.
Kusvika ndawitnessa kublossoma
Until I witness the blossoming
kweorganization ndiri a part of it.
of the organization and it gets to there.
Vamwe vanenge
you are part of
vachiapplyira
it.
kumacompanies atoblossoma kudhara maruva.
Some are applying for positions at companies that have already
You
blossomed.
must have an understanding of yourself kuti inini
You understand
kana
yourself
ndiri
and
munhu
say, "Me,
anononoka, it could be a matter of principle
if I'm slow,
yekuti you are failing to factor in other happenings around you. When you are going for an interview, you know this has happened to you before. There will always be something waiting to delay you. It's known even days before the interview. If you are going to the airport, start this week to look for the passport in the house. Before it happens, this is something that you must know. You must always look around you and say, what is it that is trying to happen, that is trying to stop something that needs to happen from happening? There is always something. If the interview is there tomorrow, traffic, you should not arrive there and give an obvious excuse. Sorry, I couldn't be here on time because of traffic. You have been alive for how many years? You have been in that same environment for how long? You should have factored all that. Of course, there can be other things, but you should have tried. You should have tried. By all means. Why are you always late? Now, what is your understanding of an opportunity that you have missed? What is an opportunity? Maybe you're calling it an opportunity now, only to realize later that it was never an opportunity. So before you make a conclusion, make sure that you are spiritual enough and you are inquiring from eternity point of view, properly, critically judging, scrutinizing the matter. Is it because I have a demon why I'm always missing opportunities? What is your definition of an opportunity? You being an eternal being. What opportunity are you talking about? What opportunity are you talking about? You might think you have a case and you need deliverance. Okay? Okay. Let me give you a proper illustration that you will never forget. Somebody who had Jesus. Not even talk about Jesus in her as in being born again. She was pregnant. Jesus was in the womb. And all she needed was a room. And people without Jesus had occupied all the places. She's moving from door to door to door to door, looking for an opportunity, for a place with Jesus. Is she under a curse? How come when I arrived, I couldn't find a place? You are about to give birth to the Messiah, the greatest blessing of them all. Yet the Jesus you have cannot secure an accommodation. Look at where that Jesus led them. In a manger. Kudangao.
In a manger
Kwadzinodyira.
where they eat.
Imi makugona kuchiti because makure nazvo manje makugona kujaja.
We are now far away
All
and are now
things.
able to judge all things.
Makuunderstand nekuti ranga riri gwai raifanira
Now
kuzvarirwa
understand.
mudanga kuti ribude mudanga rizodiri. Maana understanding now.
Now have
Because
understanding.
inyaya yemumwe. But you can have the same Jesus in you who never wants you to remain employed forever. When you get employed, it is only so that you get accustomed to the systems of this world. It's an opportunity not for you to remain there, but your understanding of an opportunity, you are trying to bring the entire God into that small organization. And the God in you, the God in you, the God in you can do things
Can do things
Ndibate
that you may end
msoro,
up thinking
ndibate
that are
msoro,
good
ndine
evil
mweya
spirits.
wakaipa.
And you ask someone to lay hands on your head.
Yet the God in you, the ability in you, might not even be qualified for such a position. It's a position that you might not get. Unogona kupinda mukampani ya usinga promotwe.
You may enter into an organization where there is no promotion.
Unolokerwa mu one level of operation.
You are locked in there in one level of
Yoruda
operation.
kusumudzwa.
And you want to be raised.
Ukuna matira promotion.
You are praying for
God
promotion.
is trying to keep you in that realm because what you are going to be doing eventually outside of that organization is at that level. He wants you to absorb everything at that level. Because there is no better place above that. This is your realm. So there is demon per time you rukukubatira promotion.
So
No.
it's not a demon that is holding on to your promotion.
What are you at that level to learn? If you mastered that level enough, if you have mastered that level enough, you don't even need the promotion in that same organization. It's something that you can come out and you can do on your own.
Are you hearing me?
Mapositions amene mchemera esa muridzi wekambani mukada kumuona anosiko disappear anongotanga kambani obvaisa mazi structures nechi ukana position yake imnyanye kuvhundutsa stake ibu munopiwa mazi zita nechi yakozati muri mukambani yani.
These positions that
Torai.
you are crying for, the owner of the company is never looking at that. Even if you look at
That
his
should
position,
never be your focus.
don't even focus on that.
The issue is, what is it about me? Were you not going to seek deliverance, hearing that a prophet came to anoint a king and you were not present? And he was looking for you. Would you not call that a demon? Sure. Because he's suspecting maybe there's an evil spirit. I'm saying David was not present. And there were people present. Were they qualified? No. But they were what? On time. Instead of thinking that you have a lot of demons, look at it from this perspective. There is a lot of God in you. There is too much of God in you. So before you complain for missing an opportunity, go back again and look at what you think was an opportunity from God's understanding. You will realize that it is the God in you creating problems for you, not an evil spirit. But if you feel that it's an evil spirit and you need to make some adjustments, for sure, there are certain rules, there are certain laws that govern this universe that you need to know. Many of our people are not that informed. We have children that are God-fearing. They love God, they pray, they fast, they read their Bibles. But there are certain laws that have been put in place that are running this universe. And most of our people are not aware of those laws. And we are breaking them all the way. What job do you want them to give you? If you really know how to do the job and you don't know how to give it to yourself, what job? What really is the job that you will never do unless they give it to you? What is the job that you know that you can't do and you will never do unless somebody gives it to you? What is that job? Enlarge your understanding. See from eternity. If I were you, with my understanding, if I miss an opportunity of getting a job in an organization, they have missed an opportunity. Looking at life from that perspective, it's a different perspective. Your perspective, you are beggarly. You are walking in lack, going out wanting to get and not wanting to give. You are needed everywhere. Where they don't give you an opportunity, they have lost an opportunity. You are big. Zvinotora makore, I know, because mundangariro.
It takes a lot of time, I know, because in mind where we are coming from.
It's an exercise yekuti unotoramba uchitodzidzira kuzvionawo semunhu, uchitodzidzira kusvika wakuzvionawo saMwari, uchitodzidzira.
You have to continue exercising, seeing yourself that you are a human being even until you get to know that you are now a God.
There comes a time you will break free from that beggarly mentality where you want someone who is lower than you to go out first and start a company that you cannot start, yet you are bigger than him. And then he creates positions for people like you. Then he invites you for an interview. And you can see right there in that room as the person is in, you can tell this guy is not as learned as I am. What kind of a system is that? Go in and do your investigations. The owner of most of these companies are not even
learn at some of these owners.
No words and there's no bore.
It's painful and it's disheartening.
So what happened to them? How come wakanotanga makambani? Arikutadza kutangwa nevari kudzidza.
How come others are starting companies that others that are learned
secret
are failing to
yacho
start?
iri simple. imi pamaiverenga mabhuku ivo vaizviverenga.
When you are reading the book, when you were reading the books, they were reading themselves.
They were studying themselves, getting to know what they can do. You were busy studying books, so that after studying one book, you now have an ability to go and study another one. From book to book, from class to class, hence from one company to another, one boss to the other. When are you going to sit down and say, let me begin to study the eternity that God has put in all of his creation? It's there in me. Where you get to a place where you think, I'm stuck. Prophet, I think I'm ready. All that I don't have now is capital. I'm ready for capital. No. No. When you get to that point where what you need is capital and the capital is money and you don't have money, you are not yet ready for that capital. Develop yourself, work on yourself until you have become the human capital. When you then you see that financial capital will always gravitate towards the human capital that you have become. When you have worked on yourself enough, and all that you need is cash to start, cash will gravitate towards you. It will come. There are thousands and even millions of investors. Millions. People are busy making money, and after making money, they realize that what else? What am I supposed to do with the money? Now they start to think of investing. Cash is everywhere. There are people with money, they are looking for places to invest. But when they come and they meet you, when you are ready, when you have developed yourself, you are no longer going out there to look for opportunities. Opportunities are now looking for you. Seek to become that. All right, waona kuti zvaitika once, twice, now 7 times, 10 times, urungosvika pepe ruwana bhazi risipo. Every time urukusiiwa nebhazi.
You've done it so many times, and when you arrive,
Driver
the
bus
bus is gone.
Driver bus, apana driver webus pakasiiwa nebhazi rake. Unaweza chipa.
Just drive your own bus. You know that there's no bus driver who has been left by his own bus.
Tanga company yako.
Chesanoda vanvake kutvagare mutsene Chesanoda vanvake kutvagare vachvara Chesanoda vanvake kutvagare mutsene Chesanoda vanvake kutvagare vachvara Anoda vanvake Chesanoda vanvake